Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday. It's championship week. Basically, NIT semifinals tonight. Indiana State, the Sycamores, up at Hinkle Fieldhouse, trying to continue their magical mystery tour this season and see if they can find a title. Purdue playing in the Final Four this weekend. So you still got some Indiana teams involved. Unfortunately, we have Robbie Hummel with us here today. I don't even know who you actually work for, Robbie. If it's ESPN and Fox and CBS and maybe NASA. I don't even know who all you work for.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind here. I was at ESPN last year, and then when they lost the Big Ten, I kind of saw not the writing on the wall, but I assumed that going from doing some of the better Big Ten games and with who they have with Vitale, even though, and the thing with Dick was because of his cancer, he didn't do, I don't think, any games this year. But had he been healthy, you've got him in the mix to do games. You've got Jay Billis, who's always going to do games. You've got Fran Fraschilla in the Big 12. You've got Jimmy Dykes in the SEC. And then kind of a plethora of guys that do the ACC as well. So, with some of the options that I ended up having, it made sense to leave. And yeah, so I'm at Fox. Fox owns BTN, so I'm at BTN as well. I did Peacock games. I ended up working for Turner in the NCAA tournament. I did Westwood 1 throughout the year. So I'm doing stuff for Bleacher Report, who's owned by Turner at the Final Four. It's been everybody over the course of the last year.
It's good to be wanted.
Yeah, that is true. It's better than everybody being like, you know what, we're good for this year. Hopefully that doesn't happen for the next however many years I do television. But I'm very fortunate. You get to sit courtside and watch high level basketball, and you think about how much tickets to the seats would be where you're sitting. Other than playing, you're not going to be in those places for free unless you're doing TV. So I'm very fortunate because I do love to watch basketball.
Ironic you say that. Blue Chips happened to be on last night.
I love Blue Chips.
I do too.
The best basketball movie, I think.
It is crazy how ahead of its time it was with the topic. I was talking about that earlier with Mike DeCourcy. But the fact that thing was filmed at Frankfurt High School is people would be, if they really knew that, their minds would be just blown.
I wish I wish when I was coming out of college, they would have been filming a really, really cool basketball movie just down the street from West Lafayette. I do love to watch in Blue Chips just to see who's in it. Like Calbert Cheney's in it, and Bobby Hurley's in it.
Bobby Hurley's playing for Indiana.
I know. That's so funny. Matt Painter is in it. He scores.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he scores a basket off the wrong foot, like a right-handed layup off his right foot, and then I think he makes a jumper. He's playing against Western. He's on one of the opponent teams. But when you look at the rosters for who is on the teams and against the teams, it's
Rick
like a
Fox.
collection of just great players that live in Indiana. And then also Penny Hardaway, Matt Novers from Chesterton. So I always followed him because I grew up in Valparaiso, and Chesterton is the rival high school there. And of course Shaq, So I love Blue Chips. This is gonna sound crazy, but I think I like Blue Chips better than Hoosiers. Hoosiers has too many slow parts for me. Hoosiers is good, but Blue Chips, if I was gonna pick between the two, and I'll probably it's blasphemous to say that in the state of Indiana, but I think I'd pick watching Blue Chips over Hoosiers.
I can't argue with you either way because it's just wild to watch it. But what it really brought to mind when you said that about the seats, the whole time, if you ever see the Dolphins in their locker room, in the background, it's Indiana playing. I guess it was supposed to be for scouting, but they always had Indiana playing, and you could see Assembly Hall, and it's like an empty gym. Although the seats are full, there are no seats on the sidelines. The sidelines are barren, except for a middle section of media seats where the media used to get to seat before they moved them up to the 47th floor. But it's just so funny. It is barren And I'm like, that's an actual game going on right
Yeah.
there. And there's nobody there.
Yeah, I wonder what do you think it was? Do you think is it like a scrimmage or
No, it was a real game.
where there was just nobody at Assembly Hall?
No. The seats were full, but a court side all around the court itself.
Gotcha. Yes.
Okay. The court was just barren
because they hadn't put the seats on the floor yet.
Yeah,
the big money seats had not been implemented.
Exactly.
Okay, I got you now.
And it's so funny because it is so barren.
Think of the loss of revenue there.
Trust me.
Indiana's got to get on it back in the 90s. Make some money.
I promise you. AD was probably looking at that going, look how much money we lost.
Seriously, we left some on the table. But you know what? I've filled in for the Bulls a decent amount over the last couple of years. And the Bulls and the Pacers are two of the rare teams that still have the TV crews on the floor. A lot of the NBA teams have started to move even the announcers up. Like I did a game, a Bulls game for the Wizards. We were up in like the concourse area of the lower bowl. I think Toronto is one of the few that still had TV down. But a lot of those places, they've recognized, man, these TV guys, they can do the game just as well from, 15 rows up. Or I did the game in Milwaukee. We were like way up. And look, there are some positives, I think, to calling. When you call the game high off the floor, and Rutgers is the one example in the Big Ten of where, because of the way that's more, and like, this is no disrespect to Rutgers, Jim, because I love going there. It's a great atmosphere. But it kind of has the feel of a really big high school gym in the state of Indiana. Like the bleachers can be pushed back. They go all the way to the floor. And so you do it from kind of like the concourse level before, or it's like really the mezzanine level, I would say, before you get to the upper deck of seats. But yeah, I think these NBA teams have recognized, man, these places and these seats that the announcers are sitting in, that's like a $500 ticket minimum, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. I don't know what if you're in LA, it's probably a $3,000 seat. If you're in Milwaukee, well, the team's good, but maybe a little bit less. Or I played in Minnesota. I know they were less there. When I was with the Timberwolves, I used to look at the people, especially my second year, the year that we were bad, after we traded Kevin Love for Andrew Wiggins and Zach LaVine. And I remember thinking, man, these poor people paid money to come watch us play. We suck. They've gotten wise on the revenue side of things for that.
But it's not as easy for you guys to do, because I know the difference between there and not there. It's immense. No, just from what you see, what you hear, it's a big difference.
I think when you're off the floor, you can see things develop really easily. At times when you're on the floor, you can get kind of blocked. Like your view can be blocked. Whereas when you're up, you kind of have a bird's eye view of what's happening. So you see things well. Now you don't see maybe the physicality as well. You don't hear players talking to each other. The biggest thing I think is if there's a play that's in question, you have no idea, what the refs are thinking. They can't run 17 rows up to tell you. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is that when there's something weird that happens and everybody's kind of confused, you just got to wait it out and hope that you can figure it out. Now that the college is kind of going to the NBA of, they've got the microphone, press the button, they tell you, which that's fine. But yeah, there's pros and cons. I'd rather be on the floor. I love seeing how physical the game is up close and personal, and I love being able to hear guys, let's talk trash to each other or communicate to their teammates. I like that aspect of it. But, when you're up high, you can see kind of the floor a little bit better.
Yeah, now you see the officials they'll come right over to the talent, the TV talent, and whatever. But if they got you guys up there, we got a common foul at 14. There's no flagrant.
Yeah, and with college basketball's flagrant rules, man, we need explanations, because there's some that just will make your, any contact to the head, auto flagrant one. And look, I'm not saying that we should have the 90s NBA justice out there where we're just like killing guys, but
Bill
I'm making a
Lambier
play on the ball and I graze somebody up top, I don't think it should be an auto flagrant. I don't.
What is your biggest pet peeve as far as a rule? Is there a rule that you're like, I just hate that rule?
Well, the cylinder rule is like hilarious to me because it's never called. You know, it was like a point of emphasis 4 years ago. And I think it's dumb because I think you should be able to post trap and be physical in post traps. And if there's a cylinder rule, essentially your trap is going to suck because you can't actually pressure the guy. And if you're a pressing team, like when it first got implemented, I was doing a good amount of Big 12 games at ESPN. And West Virginia under Bob Huggins was press Virginia at that time. And I'm like, well, how are they supposed to press if they can't take space away? Like they're not going to be able to be as effective, and they weren't, and they went away from it. So I think the cylinder rule is dumb. You know, I'm glad that we've got the verticality into the game. It was an NBA thing where we see these bigs jumping straight up, because really what was, other than taking a charge, and now you've got these crazy collisions at the basket, that was really your only option. I don't think that it's necessarily being refereed great yet. I think the refs are still there's so many times where you see a guy jump straight up and some player goes barreling into him and it's an automatic foul, right? Like, so I think that I like the rule, but I don't think it's being officiated as well as it can be yet. And then the hook and holds, I'm over that. The reviews are what I would love to see. Sorry, it's taken me a long time to get here. I would love to see a challenge system put into college.
I agree.
Then it's like we don't have to review every play. And in the first half, if we've got something under 2 minutes and you really want to challenge it. And if you win, keep it. You get 2 challenges. That way we're not going to the monitor 1,000 times to end the game. Just, you know, you can challenge it. And you think about, I'm trying to think what game it was. There was a block shot in the NCAA tournament.
That was
a team that was trying to upset somebody. Sanford, Kansas.
Kansas, yes.
Now you still have to
call
deal
into the game.
Bad call. And look, that's one of those plays where the officials are sprinting down. It's not like they're set. It's probably one of the more difficult calls because anytime you attack the rim aggressively, you're probably going to get the benefit of the doubt. That's why they tell you as a player, like, man, if you're going to go to the rim to dunk the basketball, because you usually get the benefit of the whistle. So this guy's going up top. He gets blocked from behind. You have to deal with the outcome. Like, and sometimes that's weird because the whistle blows and no one gets the ball. So it would probably have to fall back and be a jump ball, unless you see someone corral it. And then, but still, that's weird because people stop playing when the whistle blows. But then you could at least say, you know what? I challenge it. I challenge the call. And then they can go look at it. They can determine on video. And now you can at least do alternating possession. But it's not 2 shots, right? Like, I would love to see a challenge system put in, or at least talked about. At least let's talk about it this offseason or whenever the next rule. They usually go every other year for the rule changes. That would be. I'm sick and tired, and it's not the official's fault because this is what the rules are. I'm sick and tired of watching 38 reviews. One of my NCAA tournament games I did with Steve Smith, it was our last game of the day. And at this point, I can't remember what game it was, but we had 1 million reviews, and we were the last one on TV. So it was probably like 8 or 9 Pacific. It's like midnight Eastern. We've been there since, 9:00 a.m. And it's like, oh God, just get this over with at this point. The game's over, but we're reviewing everything. So that's my biggest pet peeve and it's not the ref's fault. That's the way the rules are set up. But it's
Angel Reese got fouled out last night in that game with Iowa on a really bad charge call. I'm like,
yeah, and then it's like, all right, we can challenge it, and then you can look at it. And I just think it would be, the NBA's perfected it. Let's do it. I'd love to see that.
I agree. I was fortunate that I was driving on Sunday, driving back from seeing my daughter on Easter. So I had the pleasure of getting to listen to you on the call of the game, Purdue's game. And I was like, oh, wow, that's Robbie. And then at the end, of course, it was awesome you're the ultimate professional. And first of all, I got to give you props for that. You were just the ultimate professional, always completely unbiased. And so it was awesome to see you get emotional and happy. You were part of the tribe that worked so hard to get to where these guys are. You had an injury that probably derailed a team that could have gotten there, but Purdue breaking that 44-year streak. Gene Cady getting the piece of net from Zach Edey was just very, very cool. But it's like there has to be so much emotion just pouring out of West Lafayette.
Yeah. Well, and the thing for me personally, I was shocked that was my reaction because, I obviously love Purdue, and I obviously have a great relationship with Coach Painter, and Paul Lusk recruited me to Purdue, and he's back on staff now. Elliot Bloom was the SID and then the Dobo after my freshman year, and he's still in that position. So there's still a lot of people that I played for and have been there since Coach Painter got there in 05. But I did not think that would be my reaction. But Coach Lusk came over and gave me a big hug, and Bloom did the same. And then I was pretty blown away. And this speaks to kind of what Matt Painter is about and what he has done in West Lafayette. He came over, and I'd already Coach Lusk and Bloom had already softened me up, like with the emotions for sure. But he came over and yeah, he talked about how great the team played and kind of how they did this. But then he turned to just kind of talking about how, the class that I was with Etwan Moore and Jawan Johnson kind of set the foundation. And he was saying the nicest things, right? Like I was ready to talk about the game, and he's talking about us. And, I certainly think the world of Coach Painter. He's a man of the utmost integrity. He's a great coach. I'm happy for him because now this validates him on a national scale. It's not like he changes when he gets to the Final Four, but the perception of him, I think, nationally changes when you make it to this level. And I've wanted this for him so badly because I know how hard he's worked. I know how much he puts into it. And, man, he's just deserved this. I was thinking last night, I was playing my first year of the NBA. I was playing over in Italy, and I was in Milan playing for Giorgio Armani's basketball team. He owns this team.
Oh, nice. Did they outfit you all, by the way?
We did like more modeling than we did basketball. Like it was.
Were the uniforms Armani?
Yes, down to our spandex, socks, everything but shoes. Shoes.
That's
the team
awesome.
had a Nike contract. But man, you'd pick up a magazine in an airport of Italian basketball. I flipped it over one time, and I'm on it modeling an Armani polo. It was the funniest thing because we did a bunch of photo shoots, and it was all about supporting the brand. But a game in December, I block out this dude who's running full speed at me, lower my shoulder, and I dislocate my shoulder and have to come home and have surgery. And I tore my labrum, so I was going to be out for 6 months, and I'm like, man, my basketball career could be screwed. I'm out of the NBA. I was playing EuroLeague. I was playing okay, but now I've got to sit out for 6 months. I haven't bought a house yet. Now I live in Chicago. I bought it before I went to Moscow to play. But I guess I live with my parents in rehab in Valpo, like that. No offense to Valparaiso, Indiana, but as a pro athlete rehabbing, or do I rent a place in Chicago? Now that can rack up and rehab. That's not cheap. And as an athlete, we're spoiled because you're like, well, rehab's free. I walk in the training room, whether that's for an NBA team or your college team, and you just rehab for free. And Coach Painter called me, and he was like, hey, come be a volunteer assistant, live at my house, and rehab here. And I'm like, that was the nicest thing that's A, get experience seeing what college coaching is about. B, live here for free at my house. C, rehab for free with our training staff who does a great job. That's such a nice thing for him to do. And that he goes above and beyond for all his former players. So that's a long way of saying it, but I'm really happy for him and his staff because he deserves this. And when he was saying those really nice things, it was really hard. But so many former players that I've talked to are so happy for these guys and for the coaching staff. And you watch that team play; they play the right way. They play hard. They play together. They play for each other. They are a group that's incredibly connected. And I think a part of that is definitely the fact that you've had two coaches since 1982 or three. That's Michigan State is very fortunate to have Judd Heathcote, and then that kind of went into Tom Izzo, and Purdue's got the same thing with Gene Cady into Matt Painter. And you kind of compare that to Indiana, and you've got the Bobby Knight era, and then you've got Mike Davis,
everybody else,
Sampson, and you've got Tom Crean, and it's just it's hard to have continuity when it's so splintered and you've got all these different groups. And that's something that I think in hiring Mike Woodson, the hope was, well, he's a guy that's been through Indiana, and that has to be kind of like a reunification process that he can do it because he's been there, just like Matt Painter has been there. And I think that's got to be the hope for Indiana going forward, is that he can be a guy that maybe brings all those groups together. Because I just from the outside looking in, I do feel like Indiana, from the players to kind of, and not so much the fans, but really the players, it's a little bit fractured.
Absolutely. Oh, I can promise you that's the case. And a big part of it is exactly what you just said. At Purdue, even though there are two eras, there's not really. It's one era. It's one era that is kind of blended.
And Matt Painter bridges that gap, right?
Yeah,
he played for that early
just seamlessly.
Era. Yeah, and he's done a great job of, we have the alumni game every other year. We have an alumni game. Everybody comes back. The game is fun. Everybody hangs out. There's a cookout at Coach's house. He has done a phenomenal job of getting former players to feel welcome. And I've talked to so many guys that played at other places, whether that's Northwestern, whether that's Penn State, whether that's, wherever. And when it's not your coach, it can be really awkward to go back. You don't really, you feel like you belong there, but it's not the same when it's not the guy that you played for. And at Purdue, we've been so fortunate that Coach Paint's been great because he bridges that gap. And even if you played for Coach Cady, or even if you played for somebody else before Coach Cady, Coach Painter's done an excellent job of making you feel welcome. And that's something that I think all college coaches have got to strive to do, because the past is very important to help the present and the future.
Especially with how college athletics is now. It's so much harder to do that. We don't have a lot of time left. Haven't even talked basketball. It's been too much fun just talking to you, to be honest with you.
Blue Chips really off-railed us.
Oh, dude, that movie was on last night, and I'm like, okay, forget it. Whatever else was going on, I'm in. Nick Nolte was awesome.
I know.
I happened to be around. I remember when he was shadowing Bob Knight.
Really? Oh yeah, he got to just to see him and get in character.
I can't believe he really embodied him a lot of the times. When he
I love when he says Tony's failing TV. Tony's failing TV. That's awesome.
Oh, there's so many great. That thing is. Every time I watch it, I pick up something new.
I know. It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
All right, so this weekend you've got Purdue and UConn are the two heavyweights, but you've got an upstart in North Carolina State, which that's a wild story. But DJ Burns, man, I was watching him the other day. He was playing so well, great footwork, quick moves. But I'm thinking, Edie's going to just swallow those balls, man.
Yeah, I think the matchup is good for Purdue. NC State's only playing 7 guys. You wonder how much juice they've got left in the tank. But they're playing like a team of destiny, to win 5 in 5 days at the ACC tournament and then be able to push this out and win 4 games in 2 weekends here at the NCAAs is really remarkable. And Burns is a big part of what they do. But DJ Horne's played well. Their point guard has really scored more. Michael O'Connell. He was more of a pass first guy at Stanford and has upped his offense these last 9 games. But they've shot the ball much better. Their defensive numbers over the last 9 are night and day versus their 4-game losing streak that they had to end the regular season. It's remarkable that Kevin Keats goes from, man, he's probably going to get fired, to now he gets an automatic extension in a race for making the Final Four. They're a great story. They really are. They are a team that has a good amount of transfers. Diarra's from Missouri, Morcell's from Virginia, DJ Horne's an Arizona State guy, O'Connell's from Stanford, DJ Burns is from Winthrop, and I think Burns, he might be on like the Antonio Gates route. Like he might not play pro basketball, but we might see him playing on Sundays. He's got that type of body. His footwork, like you mentioned, is really impressive to see. But I do think that just from what Purdue's strengths are, I don't think that is a great matchup for NC State. We'll see. And in that UConn game, man, get ready for Alabama to shoot 53s. I did the Charleston Bama first round game. It was hilarious. Dan Dickau was doing the radio, and in radio, when it's a fast paced game, I was joking with Kugler in the Creighton, Tennessee game. I was like, man, get ready. I'm not going to say anything tonight, so you better have it. And that's how Dan had to be with Ryan Radke. And Ryan was sick. Ryan Radke is awesome. He does the Sunday Night Football game for Westwood One. Big time voice, really good play-by-play guy. Does a lot of Westwood One stuff alongside Kevin Kugler and Kevin Harlan. And he was not feeling great. And I'm watching this Charleston, Alabama game. And these guys are I'm like, Dan Dickau's not saying anything over there. There's no way. You have no time to get in. The play-by-play guy's got to tell you what's going on. So get ready for Alabama to play fast and shoot probably 53s. And that'll have to be the recipe to beat UConn, because UConn looks really, really good.
I want to see Jack Gohlke transfer to Alabama.
He'd be perfect. Take no dribbles, shoot no mid-range. We got these Synergy Sports. Synergy is this great program. I probably use it every day to watch games, and they give you some fascinating breakdowns. And for the tournament, they sent these reports of shot charts. Alabama's is so hilarious. They've shot 12 mid-range shots from the top of the key this season, and it's like 1,000 shots at the rim and like 1,700 threes around the arc. And the mid-range is like 12 at the top, 8 at the wing, 6 from they've taken like 40 mid-range shots, and they're probably all Aaron Estrada. He's the one guy that they just can't get the mid-range out of. He'll take some mid-range shots.
He says, I'm an old schooler, baby.
Exactly. I'm a bucket getter, and the bucket getters get the mid-range.
Robbie Hummel was a bucket getter, and he's still getting that job done on TV. Any idea how many games you did this year? I know you have an idea.
I'll end up doing 85 games.
Well,
but I've got summer vacation coming up, so here we go.
Well, if you ever get down to Bloomington, make sure you let me know. We got Todd Leary down here. We play some golf.
Sweet.
Buddy, I cannot thank you enough, Robbie. As always, really appreciate you taking the time, because I know how busy you are. I know how worn out you are from doing 85 TV games and preparing for that. But congratulations. Good luck this weekend, even though it's not you, still as part of the fam. You're once in the family, always in the family.
There you go. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Robbie Hummel joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and thank you for enjoying our content and videos. And make sure you hit that subscribe and notifications toggle so you don't miss out on anything, whether it's Indiana Hoosiers, the Boilers, the Colts, the Pacers, Indiana high school action, whatever's happening in sports. We're trying to bring it all to you, and make sure you don't miss out on a thing. Again, hit the subscribe button for us. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.